This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Portian Bakery. If you're located in the Portian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Portian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, so I was thinking about this week as I was walking with your brother, and we were in like the deep freeze. Like like this whole week's been super cold.
Yeah, extreme
cold weather, right?
Yeah.
So we were out walking, and I was saying how first of all, as I was walking, my hands felt like they were undergoing frostbite? Because I couldn't feel them anymore, and I was like, oh no, and I had to start pumping my hands in order to make sure that at least some blood flow's going. Because they were going numb. Right. And although I was wearing gloves, the cold was penetrating
going
the gloves.
Through that.
Yeah. And then even though I put them inside my coat, it was still cold. So one thing I was saying is it was super cold, and he was like, oh, but this is normal. And I'm like, no, but it's not normal, because it's become the accepted normal. Because in the beginning it was the polar vortex. Remember those years ago? We started calling them polar vortex. Those specific days where you'd have
I think you told me about them. I didn't know the term was polar vortex.
Yeah. So, but this was years ago. I think 7 years ago. So when he said oh, it's normal, I'm like, but is it normal, or did we just accept it as becoming normal?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because these extreme, that's one of the acts of climate change where it's not really the abrupt changes or something huge that's going to happen, but you'll notice that there's going to be extremes. So the summers will become hotter, and then the winters will become colder.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing that now, but it's weird how we've accepted in our minds that it's oh, this is normal, it's Canada. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I wonder because climate change is so slow,
mm-hmm.
that we don't even acknowledge its existence because of that. You know what I mean? It's in yearly increments, and we're oh, it's pretty cold. But it's been cold before. Or this is a 10-year storm. We start justifying these events that have happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. Do you think that's true? Or historically?
Well, that's why don't they say? Well, you have to look at it as the study, right? So it's has there been more very cold versus previous times, or has there been very hot days versus previous times? So that's the only way you can see the trend, right?
Right. Which they have seen, they have noticed that trend,
mm-hmm.
and especially working in the climate change space of nonprofits and stuff, they
mm-hmm.
they do say that the data shows that,
mm-hmm.
you know. So I'm just wondering, have we just become so habituated to change in terms of climate that we don't even care? You know what I'm saying? It's
I think there's a lot.
I thought that was odd. I was oh, it's so cold. That's oddly cold. It's oh no, this is normal. It's Canada, right? But it's
mm-hmm.
Is it normal because it's Canada, or are we just saying that because we're justifying our experience? You know what I mean? It's kinda weird.
Well, it's not there hasn't been cold days. There has been, right? Before too.
Yeah, for sure.
In the normal times, but either because it's moving slow that it doesn't feel we gradually maybe it's getting more and more days of very cold weather each year, but we're forgetting how less often it was.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? So we keep are just
So it's, the frequency
we're
is picking
gradually
up.
getting more and more used to it.
Yeah, totally. Like so the frequency of these experiences is increasing
Yeah.
as compared to before. Like, yeah, we've had cold days, but they were very sporadic. You know, it was like maybe 2 cold days per the year, but now it's like this whole week has been like a cold weather alert week, and I'm like, oh, that's a little odd.
Yeah.
But then you take them day by day, it's like, it's never been that cold. It's never been that cold. But then you like, but it was a whole week instead of just a couple days.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I remember when I was
Because I don't think it's been like they've given out extreme cold weather alerts
before. Yeah, totally.
Before, yeah, but I don't think they've done it like so many times
Consecutively.
Right?
Yeah.
That's something I think is a bit different.
Yeah, and I think it's weird that, you know, if you're not paying attention to it, you know what I mean? It's like the whole climate change thing is a big problem, you know, in the world. And it's like, how do you get more people to care about climate change? But it's so slow that we can't even like. But
there's so many. Yeah, there's so many other aspects to it too, right? Like it's people care is different than like governments have to set rules.
No, so I
right.
For
like
sure
this
agree
is
with
like
you,
people
yeah.
are not.
But how do you still have people that argue against climate change? That makes no sense to me. It's like, of course things are changing. I mean, maybe the argument is like, is it man-made climate change?
Maybe that's the argument. I think a lot of them would be more on that side, which is the
But it has to be man-made. Like the only thing that changed in those years was like the crazy amount of emissions that we've been putting out.
Sure, yeah. So like that's the argument. I think that they don't necessarily disagree with climate is changing, but that it's not man-made.
Oh, so they think it's just like totally normal.
Yeah, there's probably like people like that too, right? I mean, of course, there's going to be even more on the fringer side.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Where it's like, oh, it's all a conspiracy.
Yeah.
I've just been noticing that it's like with the winter, like the giant snowstorm that just happened. That was kind of odd, you know.
Yeah, but that's also again they were correlating that to like every one in like 5 years or something like that, or I don't know.
Yeah, because I do remember like when we were kids, but that was maybe like 15 years ago or something.
There's been a few,
time.
right? There's been a few, but yeah, this was. I think they're still digging out almost a week in now, right?
I know, yeah. The
Or more than a week in.
the takeout spot that I go to, the parking's still done.
So they have to. Yeah, I saw like they were still digging out some of the snow on like the bridge areas was driving on the highway, and then they have to take it somewhere.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you were saying about that. Yeah, I never thought about that before. It's like, I just usually think that, you know, they just push it to the side or like something like that.
Let's if there is less snow, they will push to the side. But if there's like this much amount of snow, you have to like move it out.
Yeah, totally. You know what? You know, another thing that we don't think about, like in terms of moving, like sediments, is when you build a building, you have to move that. Like that stuff somewhere.
Yeah.
You told me about that because like they're putting up buildings in our area, and I'm like, yeah, I never thought about what do you do with the ground that you've uplifted in order to build like the parking garage. You have to put it somewhere.
Yeah.
But where do they put it?
So it depends on the material. They can be reused for other things, right?
Really?
Like other areas. Yeah, it depends on the material.
Or like you mean like that, like reused for different material or reused for
No, like there are other purposes for it. Like not necessarily. It depends on the house. What type of material, like because they still use like dirt or like other types of gravel stuff for other things, right?
Oh really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they still, but it's like it's manufactured in the sense that it's screened and done it in a certain way.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what depends on the material.
So there's a repurposing effort going on.
There will be, yeah. I mean, like if especially the top layer, like that's all like topsoil stuff or something that they can use for other greener areas, right?
Right. Oh, okay. Like if you're gonna convert a space
maybe
into
like building
a park
or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fascinating.
Can be. Yeah.
Yeah, we really never think about how a city works. You just live in a city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very odd. We take like a lot for granted.
Yeah. I mean, like that's like there's some use to those sort of things, but then there's like with cities we build so much garbage, so that is just sent to a dump.
Yeah, totally. Like,
right?
where do you put all the garbage?
That's all sent to a trash dump somewhere. Either it depends on where it is, right? Like however they're doing that. And then that's why we have recycling things or green bin stuff here, where it's to alleviate some of the stress from it. Just if everything was thrown in the trash, then this is going to be even more pile up, right? If we can reuse things, that helps reduce the amount of trash.
That's funny because like if you look at it on a micro scale, I was in Walmart and I was thinking, I don't know why I have these like doomsday thoughts, but like I guess it's sort of like I watched Dawn of the Dead and then like I love that movie and they were like in a mall, right? So I was thinking like if Walmart got shut down with like zombies or like a snowstorm or something like that, and we had to like sleep here for like a month, let's say, right? Where would we all use the bathroom? Like let's say the bathrooms didn't work, let's say they like over flooded or something, you'd have to choose a select spot within Walmart that everyone's gonna go and you're like, you're gonna go here, or like you're gonna go and then throw it in that corner, right? But it sounds so dumb, you're like laughing at it, right? But that's literally how we treat the earth too, though. Right? It's
true,
like
true.
we're just like, okay, where are we gonna put our waste? Okay, just put it in this corner. You know, I mean, like the garbage patches in the sea that collect all the plastic and stuff, like that's crazy. We really don't think about
there's a lot
nature.
of there's I mean it's for many things, right? We don't see how our food gets made. Right? We don't see where our trash goes.
That's
we're
what I mean.
blinded.
Wasn't there like a series about that? It's like Dirty Jobs or something like something about like
there's things like and we don't think about like we just use the washroom, we just flush, everything's gone,
and then you're like, okay, that's totally fine, but it's like, no, that's going somewhere. It's so trippy.
That's what it says. This is like we're living very, very, very privileged. Like the majority of our population.
For sure.
Right. Versus like before it was different. Like a long time ago.
When I was in the Philippines, one of the things that they do there is they burn their trash. So like every, I don't know, week or like 3 days or something, if whatever the garbage is in like the bins, they literally just burn it. So that could be like diapers, tissue paper.
Right. And that's a lot of bad stuff you're sending out into the air.
And those days you can smell it in the air because like it's just a fire outside the house, right? And like, and you could tell those because like it's smell it everywhere, right? But I'm like, what is that like if you're breathing that in too? You know, like,
it's not good.
It's so trippy.
It's very toxic.
But it's funny that like as human beings, we like slow as you begin to age, you realize that the solutions aren't concrete. But as a kid, you think that the solutions are concrete. You know, like,
we're very
go somewhere. Everyone must know what's going on. Blah blah blah. But
we're very as a kid. We're very, I guess,
rose-colored glasses with the world.
Ignorant in a sense.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. But we're still doing that stuff. Like there's still like landfills that they just burn. You know, like. Well, I mean,
it's much. We don't really see it here, but like if you go to like other developing nations, like
exactly, because it's really in your face.
In your face, you can see what's going on.
That's the trippy thing. Like that's the disillusionment of the Western society, right? You have these giant cities that you don't really know what's going on because they just push that out of sight, out of mind, right? It's not in front of you in the cities, right? But if you're like in these developing nations, it could be right in front of you, you know, and then you realize how like archaic we can be in some ways. Or not archaic, because like Elon Musk? Somebody's talking about like shooting our garbage into space.
I've heard that before.
But what if it comes back? You know, like planetary.
Or just
like
shoot it to the sun.
1,000 years.
Just shoot it to the sun.
Oh really?
Why don't you just throw it to the sun?
Oh my god, that's so trippy. It's like the sun is the giant trash compactor of the universe, right? Like, Elon Musk said something really interesting on his podcast with Lex Friedman, and so he's saying that like of the 4 billion years that Earth has been around, right? Only in this small window we have right now, we've been able to leave Earth. We don't actually know how long the window will stay open. And I was like, that is true. Like every species has been somehow wiped before. It's called the giant filter. That's like what they call it in like what do you call it, space, like
right.
So basically it filters out civilizations, hence the giant filter. And his idea is to escape the giant filter for humankind. But so then he got asked about like, is it easier? He was saying like I guess the question was like, can you create wormholes, right, in like time, or like can you move faster than the speed of light? That was it. Can you move faster than the speed of light? But nothing we know of can move faster than the speed of light, right? So what he's saying is it's actually easier to bend space than it is to move faster than light. And I was like, oh, that's a really, like, it sounds very science fiction.
What does that mean?
I don't know. He said like theoretically, he hasn't done it yet.
Okay, gotcha.
But like, because
like mathematically,
yeah, I guess
fits. I guess
something because propulsion, right? You can only do like moving at certain speeds. You require like outward thrust and forward momentum, right? So like you need something powerful enough to shoot you behind that you go forward fast, right? It's very rudimentary. But yeah, so he's saying like there's nothing that can get us to the speed of light with what we have now, right?
Yeah.
It's easier to bend space and time. But then I was thinking like, it got me thinking about aliens. And we haven't talked about aliens in a while. So what if, all these like theories of, all right, this is so out there again, but like, how we're trying to colonize Mars, right? And then we say like, oh, there was once a civilization on Mars. Like people will hypothesize that. Like if you look at like ancient civilizations, they say that there was a life on Mars, which they've proven that there might have been because there's water. So water equals potential life. But then a catastrophe hit Mars, and then whatever life forms there were, they transferred onto Earth, right? So under like the ancient alien civilization theory, like they had the technology to warp themselves to Earth, okay? But if you look at science like panspermia, like maybe there was bacteria on Mars, it got hit by an asteroid, and then that just like the bacteria made its way to Earth, which seems more logical, right?
Yeah, sure.
But what if in the future we create a civilization that's able to bend space and go back in time, and what we're trying to do right now is stop climate change from happening on Earth? That's what aliens are doing. It makes like for a great story, but it's like logically that would make sense, right? Because a lot of people hypothesize like maybe aliens are just us from the future. That's why they look humanoid, like, and they're like they're able to like blip in and out of like not existence, but like sight, right? Like you'll see it in one spot, then it'll be gone, then it'll move to another spot. So like the theory behind that is either it's moving at the speed of light, or like Elon Musk said, it's bending space to jump to those spots. Right.
Or they've figured out quantum.
Yeah, or something on that level. Yeah, totally right. I mean, I could see that. I could see that as being more logical than like an alien civilization making its way to Earth. Because what would it want from Earth? Like to study us, I guess. But like, if it wanted resources, it would just come and attack. That's what all civilizations naturally do.
Yeah.
But if you take like the Martian moving back in time to reverse Earth's climate change theory, we would logically do that. Like think about if you found out a way to go back in time, wouldn't you want to fix a problem that?
True. Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So it logically, in a human perspective, makes sense.
Right.
Not saying this is true, but
Yeah, that's always been the time travel story.
Right. Fix something from the past.
Yeah.
Right. So like if they are on Mars and like something happens to Earth, like that civilization on Mars is still alive.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, what about the golden age of humanity, which was on Earth? And then they're trying to fix that problem, whether it be an asteroid or climate change or like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the possibilities are endless if we are able to jump to planets, if we become like an interplanetary species. like Elon Musk says, because like if something does happen on Earth, you have a backup plan of, another planet.
Right. Yeah.
Then the other problem is like when the sun's about to explode, right? Because you have like so many years left before it becomes a supernova.
Billions of years, though.
Yeah,
right?
billions. Yeah. So I mean, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's like that would be the next problem. But I think the first problem.
I think by the time we hit that problem, we're not even in. We're not probably here.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's a billion years is a long time. If this short amount of time that humans have been here, we've reached at least this point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. And exactly, it's only been like maybe 200 years, barely 200 years from the beginning of industrialization. It was in that book that I was just reading.
Yeah.
So it's like it's been like 200
well, in the
years.
modern
like
I would say modern.
The Industrial Revolution.
It was 100 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like not even 200 years.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And look how far we've come.
Right.
Like we're genetically splicing, like CRISPR technology. mRNA vaccines, stuff like that. So it's like
yeah. And eventually the like the cyborg of us.
Yeah, totally right. Like maybe we realize that these like flesh vehicles that we're using are not as efficient, so we can transpose our consciousness to a robot, and that can live forever. You know.
Yeah.
And then like,
those things can handle space and time,
right?
Travel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you have like the greatest minds living on forever, constantly creating new products. Because like, what happens when Elon dies? Who's going to take over? Who's going to take over as like the next pioneer in technology?
I mean, they don't come that often.
That's
right?
what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And then when he does die, it's like you're going to like look back on him in like 500 years as like a genius, like of his time, like a Leonardo da Vinci, you know?
Yeah.
Or like a Steve Jobs. But that's still relatively recent, but like let's say 200 years down the line, Apple has taken over. They're like, yeah, all because of this one dude.
Right.
That'll be actually weird when we stop thinking about like people like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo. We start thinking about like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs. You know what I mean? Like the time frame has gone so far. Like who thinks about Genghis Khan? Nobody thinks about that guy. That's been like 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's right. You think about like the Renaissance period. You think about like Da Vinci and stuff. Right. Even though there were geniuses back then, but the time span was too far. We can't like conceptualize it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, like 200 years from now, we're not even thinking about Leonardo da Vinci. It's all like all about Elon Musk and stuff. Yeah.
Elon Musk, probably Jeff Bezos will be up there too.
Yeah, well, he will by default. You know, Kanye West, just like yeah. There's a line that goes like legends never die, right? But I choose like it's more like artists never die, because like. I mean, like never, like obviously physical form they'll die, but we're still talking about them, so they're not technically dead.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those are the real artists, like
what they've left behind.
You know, like Isaac Newton. Talking about that guy. But there's no social media back then, so we didn't really know how they lived their lives. They could have been like total jerks, you know?
No, they probably may have been, but I think it's more like what they've left behind and what we continue to grow from what they've learned. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why we're here. We've got iPhones.
Yeah.
In our hands.
Like Newton's laws of physics are a standard.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Fascinating. Well, one thing I was also thinking about, you showed me this at the end of last week's podcast and I like wrote it down, but maps are not to scale.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what was the website that you were like?
The True Size, I think it's called.
True Size of Maps.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You can like Google that. And it's the thing that tripped me out about it. I can see how conspiracy theorists jump to that stuff. You know, so basically what the premise is of the website is you choose, so maps, when you look at it on a map, it's like in a 2D render, but they're actually 3D, right? They're spherical.
Yeah.
So when you actually make the sphere, the size of like Russia is not actually the majority of the map. It's not as big as it looks on a 2D map. You know, even on a 3D globe, it looks pretty large, right? But this
it looks
because that's what they're working with, right?
Yeah.
But the thing you're showing me is the digital representation of it. So you take you click on like USA, and then you could drag that around the map, and then it changes in size to show you the relative scale compared to other countries.
Right. Yeah.
So what was that one? It's like India was like huge. There's one that we were like, it looks small, but then you like drag it across. I think it was India.
Yeah, there were some other island countries too. I forgot it was, but it's like But it's like UK is actually very small compared to
exactly.
Looks like to other in Asia, maybe like I don't remember what it was, what islands, but like a Mongolia or something like that. They're like already bigger.
Yeah, exactly. As you drag it across, but like on the map scale, it looks
smaller.
They look like relatively the same or tiny, but then you drag UK over, and you're like, oh, there's more expansive than you know what was made. But I don't know why they don't upgrade that. Like, is it because
it's just a standardized thing, right? Where so
it's kind of like
when you're putting something 3D stretched onto 2D, it just comes out like that, I guess.
Yeah, totally,
because it's like because normally on the globe at the top it's more squeezed in, right?
Right.
But you're flattening it all out, so you're just seeing it look like bigger than it actually is.
It's hard to explain without like a visual. I'm like we're doing our best to explain it, but like just check out that website. Like what was it called again?
the true size
maps.
Yeah, true size.
Yeah, that'll trip you out. But then another thing I heard, because I was listening to this like flat Earth podcast. It was a jiu-jitsu guy, so I was listening to the podcast. It was like Eddie Bravo with Cron Gracie, and Eddie Bravo was saying that all of the images of Earth, they're 3D renders, and they'll tell you that they're 3D renders because they don't have the cameras that are good enough to take those kinds of photos. Like if you like type out like Earth wallpaper or whatever, they're all like not real.
Yeah.
There are pictures of Earth that are real, but like because you're so close to the Earth, you can't actually take a full picture of it from what was it, the World Space Station?
International Space Station?
Yeah, that one. So you're too close that you can't actually take a full photo of it.
Yeah.
Like maybe from Mars, not Mars. Well, yeah, you could from Mars, but from the moon, they try to do it, right?
Yeah.
But still, it's not the full picture or something like that. It's not what you look at when you Google like Earth picture.
Yeah.
So those are all fake.
Those are all like, aren't they like patches?
Yeah, patches. So what they do is they take images from different satellites
together.
and they stitch it together.
Yeah.
So like what he was saying is like, how can you trust it? Like he's a flat earther. I don't think so anymore though. I think he like left that, but like more recently.
Right.
But like with like a lack of full information, we're quick to like fill in the gap of like, oh, there's something nefarious going on. You know, like with the world map thing, it's like, why do they want Russia to look so big compared to Earth, like Canada? But it's not really that big, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I think that's like, I just thought that was kind of interesting. Like the pictures of Earth that you also see, just like the maps.
I don't think it's necessarily. I don't think sometimes these things are not necessarily nefarious, but it's just.
No, I don't think it's nefarious.
Not. No. But it's just.
What we're working with.
But what and also like. Without knowing it, I guess if they didn't show you these, like the actual true size, then we're gonna think that these things are actually that big.
Right.
Like right. It's more of a lack of information being shared.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know who I trust in terms of that, like in terms of data and analysis, Corridor Crew. The reason why I say that, okay, remember they did the Apollo mission one and they said this is too hard to fake?
Yeah.
And they explained all the ways that they could do it. So basically Corridor Crew, if you want to YouTube them, they're like VFX artists that talk about like movies and whatever, and then they took on like the moon landing. Because a lot of flat earthers also say like we didn't go to the moon. Right. But when the reason why I believe them, especially now, is they called the Andrew Garfield thing. Remember the leaked footage? And people were saying, "Oh no, that's just old footage," or like that's just deep fake. And they're like, "No, it's not. Like it'd be too hard to do." and then when the Spider-Man movie came out, it turned out it was real. So it's like, yeah, they called it. Like they know what they're talking about. You know. So if they say we went to the moon, I trust that we went to the moon. If they're like it's too hard to fake, especially with the technology at the time, yeah, totally, I agree with you. Right. Yeah. So like. Don't be too distrusting of what's going on. We have like a weird knowledge gap right now in society.
Right. Yeah.
Let's get into all right. Speaking of COVID and the this one. So Russia with the maps. So the thing that's going on in Russia right now, you were saying.
With the Ukraine situation?
Yeah. And it's all just about the water, the body of water.
Well, no, I don't say it's all just about that, right? But there is a segment to that, I believe, is having control of the ports that come in. That's the only port that comes into, or at least the closest to Moscow.
Right. So if you look at the true size of maps again, and you see where Moscow is, or just look at any map, Moscow is like so in the center that it can't get its shipments other than this one canal, right? And if you control the canal,
it's a major port too.
Yeah,
for Russia. Yeah.
And actually, if you look at major cities around the world, that's why this was a mind blow, but it's so obvious, but it's also a mind blow that all the major cities in the world are built near water because they need logistics. They need to get things in and out. So if you build a major city like Moscow in the center, how are you going to get your supplies there? And you only have one route. So if you can control the one route, then you can control everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's such a chess game that we're playing.
So
right?
like it's like Moscow generally is very, very close to like Europe, right? It's like right there. And Ukraine is the one who has the majority of that lake or whatever the water is that's the ports come into.
Yeah.
So they don't. I think they don't want them to join NATO because then they'll have more of a West viewing leaning towards.
Right. Okay.
So that's what they're trying to prevent from happening, I think, more or less. So
Okay,
if they lean
like
towards more the West culture, then that means they're gonna
want more Western products. And
and then more agreeing with the Western
ideology
sides, and if they do sanctions and things like that,
and democracy and like their way of life, right? Yeah, that's the big fascinating thing. Like that's like, at least to me, that's why I find global economics so interesting, because it touches everything that we do. Like just the simple fact that they don't want them to become more Western. It's like, but why? Like us from the West, we're like, why not? Right? But it's like you lose a level of control with that, right? So like if you've traditionally held a tight grip of control, well, democracy is all about, giving the people. In the book that I just read, it's like it's a down up approach. So the people dictate the leaders.
Yeah.
Whereas in places like Russia and China, the leaders dictate the people. So it's a top down approach versus a bottom up approach.
Yeah.
And that's what they don't want. So it's like because it's all about control. Like I don't want to say control. It's all about management. How do you best manage a horde of people, either top down or bottom up? And that's really what the communist versus what's the opposite of communist? Democratic or
like capitalist or
no? Yeah, I guess you're kind of,
yeah.
There's still capitalism in
democracy.
I guess democracy versus communism. Like that's really what it comes down to. Like when they talk about like, we don't want to be communists. It's really just control. Like it's just how do you manage people?
Yeah. Right.
But again, if you look at like that, like we were just talking about, what do we do with our trash if we had like a snowstorm in Walmart, we all had to live there. It's like such a basic problem, but we just explode it into the scale.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how do you manage people? I don't know. Try this. Okay, we'll see which one's working.
Well, that's why like we have strikes here, right? So when there was a garbage strike, then you saw all the pileup of garbage.
Oh, yeah,
and how like these guys are actually an important job to our society.
Right, for sure. Yeah. But that's here. You could strike.
Right, yeah.
But if you
can't do that.
If you were in like a different country, it's like there is no striking.
Yeah.
You know. But it all comes down to ideologies too. I'm really just getting into the book that I just read. But it's like how your ideology of your country determines how you run the country. So like the ideology of the West is very individualistic, right? Like the American dream, right? It's all about me making it, right? There's a lot of pros to that, but there's a lot of cons because there's a huge disparity of like a wage gap, right? You have like the poor and the rich. You have some people in the middle, but generally it's just poor and rich, But in those communist countries, it's all about the collective good. It's not about the individual. So that's why like democracy isn't there, because it doesn't matter what you want. It's more about the thriving of the nation.
Right.
So like, which is also a good thing. Like if you frame it that way, it's like that actually makes sense too.
Yeah, it can be a good thing too. Yeah.
Right, but it's like, which way are we going to?
But then that's why like when something does go wrong, they can't say that they did it.
No, they can't.
Right. So like that's with the COVID situation, right?
Right.
They hit it even from their own people because it's going to hurt their that you couldn't do it good as a collective.
Right.
To help us. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So which is right, which is wrong. It's like only
there's pros and cons to this all.
There are pros and cons.
That's why these systems exist.
Like one thing that they base their so he broke it down in the book, which is fascinating, is like religious ideologies. Even though we say like, you know, America's secularist, it's very Judeo-Christian influenced, which is true. Like, why is every president, you know, religious? Well, like Canada too, you know, it's like there's no secularist. Even though we try and keep it separate, you know, like church and state. That's not true.
Well, there is in the laws. There is
in the laws, but the people who run.
But the people who are there, sure, they're religious.
So you're going to choose. So religion equals culture, right? And your culture is going to dictate the laws you choose, right? Even if the law says like, because you can change the law, right? It's democratic. You change the law. But if you look on like Eastern side, they're more into like the Taoism, like harmony with nature, and like all these collectivist ideologies, right? So they're thinking really about, you know, humans as a horde and not humans as a person, which is very like the reason, like, to go back to the Ukraine situation, you're like, they don't want Western ideologies. If you've been thinking about a collective good for so long and you're like, wait, I can think as an individual, you're like, no, we don't want that, you know, because then that'll pollute the rest of everyone else. How are we going to control you?
Yeah.
But then as a pro, it's like, okay, everyone needs to wear a mask, right? Oh, I don't want to wear a mask. That's not my freedom.
Exactly.
Then
Individual freedom.
Individual freedom. Now that's a problem, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really hard to figure out how to run a country.
Right. That's why it's like we're at a point where I think we have to live with this thing, with this virus, versus like there's still parts in China.
They're locking down.
They're still locking out.
Yeah, because they're like, we don't want our country to suffer. Whereas like the West, like, all right, you want your individual freedoms, except COVID. I actually think that's really fascinating. Yeah. So what? One thing, because we've been talking about it for a while, like there's an economic shift taking place, and then he broke it down to two things, and I was like, okay, I get your point. So there is a shift, but will there be a switchover? That's the question. Will China take over? So the only two things that are keeping America and the top position in the world is it's the reserve currency dollar. So basically what that means is it's the one that everyone in the world trades with. So like, because of its status at the time, there was like a law that passed after World War II. They decided like what is going to be the world currency, and they chose America. Right? Still up to now, it's been America. Right? But that's based on like the quality of the dollar, how much people actually want the dollar, et cetera, et cetera. I think they're market forces, right? And then the other thing is a hot war with China. So you can have a Cold War, you know, we're not going to shoot anything, or an economic war, whatever, we're battling with trade. But if we start bombing each other, that's one of the two things. Either USA loses its top spot as the world currency, or China decides to fight US in like a bombs battle. Those are the only two ways we're going to see change. And one thing he said is China is not looking to do a bombs battle, because we all know that a lot of lives will be lost, economies will be destroyed. We don't know who's going to come out on top.
It's
like China recently said, like the leader in 2019 said, like, we're not interested in a hot war, right? So the only thing we have to be worried about is the dollar dropping, the US dollar dropping.
Right.
But okay, so the US dollars has been on a steady decline, right? And the Chinese dollar has been increasing. So there's going to come a point where the dollar and the US dollar and the Chinese dollar are going to be so close that is USA going to instigate a hot war because they're like backs against the wall. They can't do anything. It's like, we need to fight you now.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be anytime soon though, because like the US dollar is 51% of the market. So that's quite a lot. And the Chinese dollar is like 10 or something, 10, 20.
Oh,
so
really?
It's still like a ways off.
Okay.
So it's not like anytime soon.
Yeah.
But like, what he was saying is when your back's against the wall, that's when hot wars start, because you couldn't do it with trade, you couldn't do it with other things, and that explains why USA is doing the Russia thing right now. You know, and in the book they're saying like in the next 10 years, the allegiances, like the allies, are going to be solidified. in the next 10 years. So we're already seeing like Russia and China. You guys are together.
Right.
What about Saudi Arabia now? Who are you guys going with? You know what I mean? Like,
right. They're still sticking
to the U.S., but
I think they're leaning in the U.S.
It looks like that, right? Because they're very like freedom oriented and stuff. Because they're another major player.
Isn't it also like then they, like but like they also switched from using pounds for, like there's a currency for oil to American dollars. Like that was also
in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, like
I don't
like
know.
that. Like this is like using the dollar, like being the control.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Like, yeah. It's
like they say it now in U.S. dollars how much a barrel costs versus
okay, yeah.
Versus like before, like the UK was the big one before.
It was, yeah, but then, like again with the whole like reserve currency thing, like it's always changing. So it's like they just decided, okay, U.S. dollar is still the one we want to trade in.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is this all happened post. I forgot the law that it was like the Bernard law or something, the Bernie law, something like that. It was post World War II.
Yeah, it happened all after World War II.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. And then they're like, we need a world dollar.
Yeah.
And then they're like, U.S. is the strongest right now. Yeah. You just defeated the Nazis. Yeah. We'll go with you guys.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? Crazy because how long was World War II?
It's like 5 years, right?
No, I mean like how long ago?
Sorry. Oh, long ago, sorry. 1945 when it ended.
45. Okay, so we're not even 100 years from World War.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And what they're saying if you look at history, China had ruled the world for a very long time. Only recently did America, there was a bunch of other ones, like Europe went up and then blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm,
but USA has held it for the longest period in most recent history, which is like 275 years, something like that.
Okay.
I know these numbers like don't really they're not relative.
Right.
You can't scale it towards other things, but what the takeaway is that U.S. has held the top spot in the longest amount of time, which only signals that they have to go down because no country has ever held the world's top spot forever. Unless, now here I'm being hypothetical, what if they looked at history, America, and they're like, we get how to play the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Okay, you need arms? Okay, we'll invest in our military. Okay, you need strong economies? Okay, we'll just print money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They do have the strongest military.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And what he was saying is like, you also don't even know what other things they have in their arsenal. We didn't release the atom bomb until it was necessary. It wasn't like public knowledge, like, oh yeah, we're working on an atom bomb. It was just like, oh, okay, here's a nuke. You know what I mean? Like,
true.
Right? Yeah. So it's like, what are they working on right now that if we decide to go into hot war, what are they going to do? They're just going to wipe everyone out.
Right.
It's oh, that's cute. You guys have that. We have these satellites up in space that'll destroy, pinpoint destruction towards your... But that's why nobody wants to do it. Because like a hot war in the future, technology's so advanced that it's like...
Yeah. I don't know. Like there's so many things even with satellites too, right? Like,
I know.
We like the images they were getting, like during I think Cold War was like really good, like the Google Maps stuff kind of thing, what I mean, right? Bro. Like Google Earth View or whatever it's called. So like they were getting things like that. So I know they've been putting up new satellites in these years. So what can they do?
And it's all about intelligence, right? So like. Sure, like in terms of a hot war, it's like let's say we had World War III, because everyone's talking about World War III. That's not going to happen. Like if we hit a point where we have a hot war, a lot of things had to have gone wrong. Like you would have had the economy would have tanked, and like I mean it is tanking, but like trade is totally out the window. Like nobody wants a war.
Yeah.
So that's like,
especially in a global economy, we never had this big of a global economy.
We rely so much on one another. That's all I'm saying.
That's why, like, even with the Russia-Ukraine, like Germany's not doing as much as they want, I think, but Germany gets a lot of energy, like from Russia.
Oh, okay,
like gas lines and stuff like that. Right, so it's like they come, so they're not getting involved as much.
Yeah.
But that's what they want Germany to act like. Well, we won't buy from you. Like they want to use that as a. Right. Or they're asking them to do that, but I don't think they're going to do that. So it's like, because we're a world economy, That's why it's like not everybody.
Everything is so. It's like a spider web, right? You touch one node, and then the whole thing has crazy ramifications down the whole line.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So like, my first thought is, if there was a World War III and America's like, oh, okay, cool, you guys want to fight? Decommission all their satellites. They would just do that. They would just turn them all off, because it's like, think about, or the ones that they have control over. Because think about all the people that are sending things into space for them, like SpaceX.
Yeah.
Like, China alone isn't doing that for themselves. Like, they're contracted globally. So it's like, USA would just have to pull all of its technology strings, and whoever has the best technology just gonna win everything. It's like, what are you gonna use with Google Maps? What is the Chinese alternative to Google Maps?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, and Google is a American company. Although they operate in multiple different countries, if it came down to a war, they'd just be like, hey man, like, Google, we need you to step up. And they're like, all right, turn off all the satellites.
Right. Or whatever.
What I mean? Like,
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you think of it like that, it's like, and that's why I wonder, like, even though there are signs that the U.S. economy might drop, and then China, like, people would say, like, China might take over. Maybe they've had so much foresight and looked into history that they're like, if we leverage these two things, we're never going to have, like, the biggest stick and culture. Yeah. You will never need to, or like the global dollar thing.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see in the future.
We'll see.
Like,
I mean, that's why
like,
China's trying to get involved in a lot of different countries, right? Like,
yeah.
But a lot of those countries don't think like China, though, right?
What do you mean?
Like their collective mentality, or like
exactly. Yeah, they want like freedoms.
Yeah, I heard that somewhere where it's like, even though China's putting money into all these different countries, trying to grow them, but they don't think like China, though.
Exactly.
They still think like America.
That's actually,
or like the freedom kind of thing.
That's one of the things that he puts in the book as like, so there's like economic war, trade war, hot war, and then one of the things he said is culture war, because that's a big determinant. Like, how do people want to live their lives? Because then, like, even if we rely on China for everything, it's like, yeah, but we don't be ruled by you guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's weird. And one thing he brought up,
like, I still think, like, I think if you go around the world, they still think like American dream. Like, they don't think of China dream.
Exactly. Nobody's thinking like that. Exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly. And that's like the definition of culture war. Like, we all still want that American dream.
Yeah.
Fascinating. There's one thing that he said in the book, and I like highlighted. I was like, this is so important. Remember the peacemaker guy?
Yeah.
And he had to apologize because he said Taiwan is a country.
Something.
So apparently, that's because of a battle between U.S. and China for Taiwan. I don't know the exact details. He just said like Taiwan is a major spot, like a major what do you call that? Like conflict point.
Yeah, right.
They're arguing over something. So then when John Cena did that thing to anger China, he had to take it back because it's like it's a soft spot for the world right now.
Yeah. It's a very soft spot.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, that was all right, let's get into, actually, let's talk about Aziz. What do you think about Aziz's?
I thought it was really good. Very short, which was kind of interesting, but it was very good. Yeah.
I like his Dave Chappelle style.
This one was
stand up. Very Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, it was very like an intimate kind of thing. It's a very small crowd
and
too.
the things he was talking about too. Though,
and things he was talking about, yeah.
Like one thing that he said was super true. Like, speaking of China, like if China wants your face, they just offer you.
It's true though.
I know.
Do you remember that?
When he said, I was like, "This is
the
such
Age app or whatever."
Genius.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, instead of being like, we want your face, we'll just be like, would you want to see what you're like when you're old?" Like, one thing that he was so defining, that was so true from that whole thing, and I was like, this guy's a genius, because I hadn't heard anyone say it like this before. It's like, it's attention.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen it through the big hack Remember that documentary?
Yeah.
It's all about like the attention economy now. Like if you can control someone's attention, you basically won.
Yeah.
Right? Like the thing he said, and I was like laughing so hard because it was so true. No matter how much we hated Trump, he gave us the content. Like, what's he going to say today? What is the thing? And then he's like,
it's so true.
Biden and Kamala Harris, we didn't see and no content from them.
Yeah.
So it's like we really only care about things that grab our attention in the West, at least, you know.
Yeah. No, he was true in saying that, right? That's why it's like, well, there's a lack of content from them. That means it's a good thing, but we don't. Generally, it's a good thing.
Okay.
But then it's like,
but we also don't care.
But we forget about.
Yeah. It's weird.
It's true.
You know, or like, but then that speaks to like everything, you know, like NFTs, cryptocurrency. If you look at what happened during the whole COVID time, we were all indoors, and then we were just like focusing on, you know, nothingness.
Right.
Like, why are NFTs so big right now? It's because we're all locked indoors. Can't do anything else. We're like moving towards the digital economy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but I wonder if that'll undo itself when things open back up.
I think there is an effect to that. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like these things won't be as important.
Okay. Yeah. I thought you meant like there'll be long-term ramifications.
No.
No, I think they'll just fizzle out because we'll be like, yeah, I'm going to do this now. You know what I mean? We have more options.
Yeah, I think it was just like we had time to focus on different random things.
And our only option at the time was the internet.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we can't go out to eat. We can't go out to like the cinema.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we're not in the same world yet. Like, I mean, the old world. We're not back there yet. But when we do go back there, it's.
So that'll be interesting to see like big bubbles, you know, from the COVID thing. Everyone's going to start selling, you know, their NFT stocks and their crypto stocks because like, like nobody's living in the digital world anymore.
Right. Yeah. Isn't there like been dropping for crypto?
It's so volatile and raises and drops like every day.
But in recent few weeks, it's been.
Oh, really? Eh?
I think so.
I don't know. Maybe because they're like, oh, we're all going outside. Like, oh, sell your stock, bro. Like nobody cares about online world anymore.
That's what there's no. It's I forgot what they named it, but there's no actual value to it. Or you're just holding the money, or there's nothing, no use for it. I forgot the term they use, but yeah.
Fiat currency.
Something like that, or it's like a security, or not a stock, but a security, but that's not something. I don't know the exact term. So it was like something along those financial terms. Okay. Yeah. Where there's no actual value.
There's no value to it. Yeah. There is actually no value to it.
Yeah.
Only the perceived value.
Yeah.
I wonder, like you said before, I was like, oh, do you think the world will change or will still like be obsessed with being online post-COVID? And you were like, no, I think people want to go back to normal. You were saying that. And I was like, I don't think so. So we were talking about, so I'm going to change it. So we were talking about work, about that one.
Okay.
Right? Because I was like, oh, people don't want to go back to work. And you're like, actually, people do want to go back to work. I still think people don't want to go back to work, but I think that they'll want to be more outside. So it's like, we'll do our work in front of the computer or like remotely.
Right.
And then we'll still go outside, you know? So I feel like unless they can lock us down again, things like the metaverse are like fads. I really don't think it's gonna. It will be in some niche markets, but it's not going to be as pervasive.
I just don't think it's gonna be that. Yeah, I don't think so. Like
the way they're presenting it, right?
Yeah, I think metaverse is good just as a video game. Like
totally,
like I don't think
like,
it's.
I think it's a niche market. I think only
it's a
specific people are going to be into it. Yeah, I don't think the Matrix thing
because
no one.
I don't think anyone can take it seriously. Like you're in that world, no one's going to do things seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
You just can't.
Like, I mean, sure, we can have business meetings, but that's what like Zoom is for or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would you transition to the metaverse?
Yeah, why would you? Yeah, why exactly? Yeah.
We could actually be witnessing like just like the .com bubble. You know, everyone thought like, oh, everything's going online, blah blah blah, so that people are pumping money into the market. again, another reason why you need to look into history, because like this stuff has happened before. So like the dot-com bubble, everyone thought that was going to change, so they like put all their money into it, and then it popped because they're like, oh, it's not as important as people thought it was going to be. I feel that about the metaverse too. Crypto, NFTs, metaverse. I really feel like it's only in the last 2 years it's picked up steam because we were in front of our computer.
Exactly.
We were locked down.
Exactly. Yeah.
There were no options.
Yeah. Nothing else to pay attention to.
Yeah. Like people are going to want to go to restaurants still. Yeah. Nothing else to pay attention to. Like Aziz's stand up.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about the attention.
Yeah.
Are you paying attention to the, speaking of attention, are you paying attention to the trucker strike at all?
A little bit. I mean, I've seen the news,
like
but
whatever.
It's. I mean, it's all.
I get it, like the vaccine.
I don't think it's only truckers though. Like, there's so many other people involved in it, which are like the same people that were not for vaccines.
Yeah, they. Oh wait, what? I thought it was about vaccines.
No, I mean, like, you know, like the anti-vax people also joined in with that
of course, because it's like with their policy. They're like, we don't want mandated vaccines,
right?
And then if you see like Ford saying like we gotta live with it, Dr. Tam saying we gotta live with it, it's almost like that's the bottom up approach again, right? It's like the people made the change, because if this was a top down approach, they'd be like, shut up and get back to work, or shut up and stay inside.
Yeah. That's the difference. Yes, yeah. You don't see these things happening in China.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't. Or if they are happening, they're not publicized.
Oh, they're not publicized. Oh, yeah, they control the media. True. Yeah, that's true. There are people that do protest, but it's like it gets no attention.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, that's cute that you want to protest. We'll kill you now. You know, like kill you like physically, or like delete you offline.
Right. Or just yeah. Or they're just crazy or not.
Yeah, exactly. There was like, speaking of like the COVID lockdown stuff with the money thing, there was one line in this other guy's special, Brian Simpson. He was on that comedy thing on Netflix that I was telling you to watch, the stand-up thing. He said, like, as a black person, we've been like, oh, where's our reparations? Where's our money? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, we can't give everyone money. And he's like, and then COVID happened. And we're like, what the hell? You guys had money the whole time. You just didn't want to give it to us, you know? Right. It's fascinating when you think about it like that. It's like, what are we capable of? We just don't want to do. You know, until like it's necessary.
Yeah. Super necessary. But that was for everybody, right? Versus
exactly. Well, but still, they were asking for the reparations, right? But like, yeah, we can't give it to you. But it turns out you could have, you know. Yeah, with the whole COVID strike, like the truckers thing. I just posted this on Instagram. I think it's great for local businesses.
Okay, yeah.
Like Tim Hortons and like, I don't know, like coffee shops there.
Oh, right.
Because where they can eat.
Who were they going to stay?
Tourism money, exactly.
I was thinking that too. It's like, oh, that's great for the hotels or motels that are around there.
Yeah, because they're all not sleeping outside, right? Like,
yeah.
All right, so to think about this more, right? It's so funny to think about this more meta. What if you were a politician? You're like, actually, this is boost our economy. Let's just let it happen. You know what I mean? Like,
and they want people to be outside more, right? So that it doesn't spread as much.
Yeah, so you guys are just doing the job for us.
Yeah,
that's
great.
We were gonna tell you guys that you were gonna go back to normal anyways, but you did this. All right, cool. Like, we get a little economic boost in Ottawa right now.
Yeah.
Right? Or even like everywhere in Canada, because they had to make stops, right? So it's like,
got
a little economic boost here, got a little economic boost here. Yeah.
There's benefits to it, I guess.
Right? It's such a funny game, like the way business and economies work. It's like the flow of money is just so funny.
Yeah.
When you think about it like that, it's like it's like people are like, yeah, the rights, blah blah blah. It's like, actually you're really helping big business as well, because Tim Hortons saw an increased spike in revenue thanks to everyone who was outside of the auto building and needed coffee or a donut.
Yeah. And do you think already the isn't there like the marketing of Tim Hortons is Canadian, so it's like
exactly, yeah, let's support Canada. So no, screw Starbucks, like, you know. Yeah. I wonder how long that's going to last. Do you see Jagmeet Singh being like, I don't support my brother's donation of like $15,000?
His brother-in-law's, yeah. brother-in-law.
Like, come on, bro. That's family. Come on. What are we doing?
No, he has to say that, but also it's like he has to say that.
He has to say that.
Yeah, he has to say that. But also it's like
career suicide.
But to say the other thing where it's like, oh, he didn't know what he was putting money into. He put $13,000 in.
Yeah, you're not.
How do you
stupid,
not know
bro.
what you're gonna? That's $13,000.
Oh, I didn't see that. He said I didn't know what I was putting my money into.
No, he had talked to him, and it's like, oh, this group is like whatever he was telling, like extremists or something like that.
Wait. Hold on. Give me the full picture. Jagmeet Singh said this. Who said this?
I think Jagmeet's saying that when he talked to his brother, that's why he's pulling out his money.
Oh, his brother's pulling out his money?
Yeah, brother-in-law's putting out his money. But
boo.
But because he was saying that he didn't know all the other aspects of it. But how would you put $13,000 into something you didn't know all the aspects of?
Yeah, bro. Like
that doesn't make sense. You don't just like if you gave like $20, okay, that makes sense.
Exactly. Hey, Jagmeet's brother, I have a great idea. It'll cost you $20,000. I don't have all the information yet, but it's a great idea. So if you want to send that my way, e-transfer,
that'd be great.
DM me.
Yeah.
I got that.
Good cause.
It's a good cause, yeah. Right? It's so dumb. It's like, of course, if you're going to invest a huge amount of money, unless you're so rich. So what? So that's two things they're telling.
Sure.
Either you're extremely rich, that $13,000 is like $20 to you. So you're like, whatever. It's like a homeless person on the street. There you go.
Yeah, but I still don't think so. It doesn't matter how rich you are. You don't give money just like that unless there's a reason.
Because if you got that rich, you were very like technical about your money.
Yeah.
PR games, man. What are we doing? Like, and the funny part is we have these teams that like.
Because I know there's like I think there's like a lot of Sikhs who are like in the trucking business.
Oh, okay, so that's why you want to support them. Yeah. So Jagmeet, what are you doing, bro? Those are your people. Like, what? But he's like, no, politics matters more. You know, like
image
matters more. Dude, this is so telling.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Speaking of images, so telling. I posted an article about how to grow your followers online. I honestly don't believe in followers. Yeah, if you're listening to this right now, I'm gonna tell you, I just game the system, like for my own account, because that's what I do. I'm a marketer. I'm like this is my job to game the system, right? And like, so I just put it out there because I was like, okay, I'm just gonna tell you. Well, actually, I put it out there because a client asked me how to grow their thing, and I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, you're putting your like, sure you can grow it. But what is an Instagram follower going to do for your revenue? You like those aren't sales; those aren't leads.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you need an actual like sales strategy. That's not a social media is not a sales strategy. Social media is an outward facing like gimmick.
Yeah, that's right.
It really
the
is.
only way social media works is as influencers, right?
Okay, totally.
That's 100%. Because you're selling products through them.
100%. Okay, so there's 3 ways to grow your account. Way 1 is you post meaningful content, right? You have the best content.
Sure.
But the problem is that even if you have the best content, the algorithm won't show your image. So you have to pay into the algorithm to get that image shown.
Yeah.
And then once that image gets shown, somebody's like, oh, I like this. Then they go back to your account and they're like, do I want to follow? That's way 1. Way 2, if you want to grow it, is you go to other people and you're like, hey, follow me. Right. That's the only actual networking.
Right.
Like, which is the point of the platform. Or you can like reach out, DM people and be like, hey, follow me, blah, blah, blah. You gotta hustle, right? And the third way is you just buy followers or you buy bots that will do the hustling for you. Right. And it's funny to me because I said how you can call those things is just the level of engagement. So if you have a high follower number but low engagement, I don't care about likes because you can buy likes.
Yeah.
It has to be about, are the comments related back to the content you're showing? And then if those comments are related, then it's like, okay, that's real engagement.
Right.
If it's just like a bunch of like emojis, like fire, thumbs up, it's like, dude, you could buy those. You could also buy likes, like, you know. But what's interesting is, because we were talking about PR teams and like politics and stuff, a lot of artists do that. You go to their account and what they'll do is they'll have like one photo or no photos, but they have a huge following. And then you automatically think like they must be important. Kendrick Lamar does that, Rick Rubin, a lot of musicians, a lot of UFC fighters. That's because they have teams. And
Right.
those teams are doing exactly what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But to the initial person who like doesn't know these tricks, they're gonna be like, wow, you must be important. And then we start looking at each other like you're important because of your social media following.
Yeah.
It's so dumb to me. It's like, no, but you might have a zero. Like I've seen scientists. Great example, engineered arts. Okay, I put this in the article.
Mm-hmm.
Engineered arts, they make the most amazing products, right? And like the
Right.
robotics,
The robot, yeah.
that look human.
Mm-hmm.
They had like no followers,
Mm-hmm.
but they were putting out the craziest stuff. And then they did CES,
Yeah.
and then that was like personal networking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they grew up to 31,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a strategy. They're just like, our product will speak for itself.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I only judge things based off of the content you put out and who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we're in such a world of materialism that like, or like Jagmeet Singh's brother, it's like, oh, I can't say that I'm with you even though I'm like, you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, there's a lot of Sikhs in the industry. Okay, so support them. Oh, but I don't believe what they're, it's like, so pick a side, bro. It's all just like smoke and mirrors, these games. Like Joe Biden, that was the other thing that came out this week when he swore.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like his team had to spin that some way, like.
I don't think they spend it though.
No, I know, but even not spinning it is a spin.
Right.
Your team is going to address that. They're like, what do we do with this?
Right.
Right. Like you're never going to let those things go under the
Well,
rug.
do we have to do anything with this? That was probably the question that happened. And then probably the result was no.
You know why? Because they're like, we're in an attention economy. Nobody's going to care. Or this is great for you. You produce content just like Aziz was saying. You know what I mean? Like, although I wonder if somebody got fired for that though.
No.
You don't think so? No. Demoted.
No.
Really?
No, because it's just a question to him.
No. But the hot mic was still on.
I don't think so.
Oh, all right. I think he would have blamed the hot mic. He's like, make sure you always turn it off whenever the question is like done. Watch.
But there's so many times as these things have happened, right? At this point, if you have a mic in front of you, you should know.
So what you're saying is he's silly.
No, I think his anger got to him, or like he's pissed.
That's so dumb, dude.
Or like emotions got to him, I would say.
Okay, well, what I find is weird is like when we compare him to Trump, right? Like Trump was doing all these things in the beginning.
Yeah. But he was upfront with it.
But he was upfront. Thank you. That's the thing. I'm not saying Trump's a good leader. I'm not in the political sphere.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is from a marketing perspective, he was at least upfront about it. That's all.
Like I remember like when left-wing type of journalists ask him a question. I was like, no, that's a dumb question. Like you directly tell them.
Exactly.
It's funny. Yeah.
That's why I like it.
It was good content though.
It was good content. Like Aziz said, yes, good content. But like there was this question, I forgot which rapper was saying it. Like they asked him and he's like, I'd rather know my enemy than sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like everyone's like, yeah, Biden's the best, and then you catch him like off screen like swearing, right? And it's like, oh, that wasn't good of him. And then it's like, that's the enemy you don't see.
Yeah.
Whereas at least Trump was the enemy you do see. What you see is what you get, right?
Sure.
I'm sure there's still like stuff he doesn't talk about, as I'm sure that there's other things that Biden doesn't talk about. But all I'm saying is that one of them is playing the game really hard and one is not as hard. I mean, they're still playing the game, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, this depends, I would say. I think we talk about this, right? Like you can have, he may not say certain things, but if he's not doing those things, then it's okay, right? Versus like...
Okay, what do you mean?
Like, I think what he was saying of the rapper is more like someone who's racist.
Yeah.
Or not showing racism.
You remember that, right?
I don't know who that
Dave
was.
Chappelle?
Maybe, but I've seen it in other other kind of things where it's like, but if his actions are still representing or doing things that are racist,
yeah,
but not showing it, right? That's the thing.
That's worse.
Yeah, that's worse, right?
Because it's like, that's what I mean. That's like the
so
whole
it's
Joe
based
Biden
on what
thing.
kind of laws they're passing and stuff, right?
Exactly.
So it's like if they're not doing what they say or what they think, then I don't see an issue necessarily.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
But see, that's the thing. It's like we don't promote people to levels of power that are like when you have a bottom up approach where like a regular person can become the leader of the world.
Yeah.
Like you don't have the best. You don't have the best individual for the job. You have the most popular individual for the job. Whereas like the China approach is because it's lineages. they make sure that they're educating the leader, right? So like in the book as well, what he talked about is he has like a friendship with the Chinese leader, and he's like, oh, he's very articulate, knowledgeable, humble. But I'm like, yeah, because they had to be schooled in that way. Think about kings, like kingdoms. That's literally what it is. It's like your whole lineage has made you into this figure, right? Whereas if you take like a democratic approach, bottom up, it's like if anybody can be the leader, you don't get the best one. You should get the most popular one. Not saying it's a good or bad thing. I mean, like, hey, we'll see how things play out.
That's why they play out the way they play out, right? Where it's like Trump was in, then
exactly
they realized how not good that was necessarily.
But then someone else came, and it's like, is this still the way to go? We don't know, you know?
Well, yeah, that's why I think they're much more better off necessarily than they were necessarily with.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, we don't know that. We don't know that yet because it's not until his 4 terms are done we look at his resume.
Sure, but I mean, it's already, people are fed up with this COVID thing. Like that's one of the things that are hugely impacting his presidency.
Yeah.
The fatigue is there.
Yeah, totally.
Let's just go back to normal.
yeah, for sure. Freedoms. Oh, my freedom. Okay, quickly about the mRNA vaccine, because I heard the Business Wars thing about it. I won't go into the whole specifics about like how it got made, but one thing that I found really interesting that they were saying is the raw material will stay the same for the vaccine itself. They'll just recode it. So the theory, like this is in the future, if they can successfully produce this product, we wouldn't have vaccines as a blanket. It would be tailored vaccines according to your genetic sequence, which I think is pretty fascinating. So it's like you could solve a lot of problems that are individual specific from that point. Technology, man, the future is
crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. Okay, last thing is,
and it's also like mRNA hasn't been a very new thing. It is a new thing,
true.
But it's been studied for like over 20 years.
Yeah. That's what they're saying.
That's the one thing that we don't know, at least the general public don't hear all the time.
Yeah, totally. And Moderna was pioneering it, and then it wasn't until COVID that they had something that they could actually produce. Because there was a lot of deaths surrounding mRNA, like the body wouldn't accept it. They couldn't figure out how to do it, and then they finally figured out how to get the body to accept it. But now they need like a proof of concept. They needed like something to actually do. So one good thing out of COVID is we'll have mRNA.
Well, the deaths were done on rats. Let's just
rats, not humans.
Not humans.
No,
Let's just
say that. It has to go through animal trials, then human trials,
right?
And they couldn't. I
just wanted to add that in there, just in case people didn't.
True. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, not related to this vaccine, COVID vaccine, but they were seeing like a lot of deaths in rats or mice, and then they figured that problem out, so they had to move on to humans, et cetera. Yeah,
to eventually do the human trials and stuff. But those are.
But they didn't have a good enough pilot until COVID. So one of the benefits I would say of COVID is at least we're going to come out with better technology on the other end of this. Right. Which is actually true.
I heard that because of the success of mRNA that they're going to be, well, this is like early on. It's like
HIV.
We can, towards HIV and other situations too.
I think that's what it was primarily focused on.
Right. Yeah. But now that they saw proof,
But so like other than mRNA, there's like a ton of other technologies that are going to quickly come to market and have come to market through the pandemic, which is exciting to see. Like technology's advancement in this time. Like Zoom's remote learning, like everyone uses cloud drives.
Yeah.
I mean, like you're not really in the, like you had been going to work, but like for me,
no, there's still some aspect to it there.
Oh, really? You saw some
changes? Yeah. Like my direct field isn't like that, but there are other departments that
are fully remote now.
Not fully remote, because they still need access to look at samples and stuff, but like they can work remote. So like like when the guidance from the government was like if they can work from home, like that was still being used to people who can.
You know what I find really fascinating too, like what we haven't tapped into yet, but I mean if the pandemic was longer or like the lockdown was longer, we would have slowly saw a transition towards this too. Is like, but there's government regulations, but like if you can access, because we're so remote, you access employees from around the world now. It's not even just in your, I mean, big corporations do it, right? Like they have like branches in India and stuff.
Right.
And like so like accounting firms, for example, they'll work here 9 to 5 and then they'll work 9 to 5 in India.
Yeah.
So then you're never missing a beat. It's like you're 24 hours around the clock working. But yeah, one thing that I find that, but like you need a branch there still. Like, so if I have a company here, you need a company there. So like the accounting still works, but it'll be interesting to see if this had come about, if you can hire people from different parts of the world as employees. The only issue is like, what are your employment rights?
Yeah.
Right. Like, or your tax is actually the biggest one, because where do you get taxed?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like that would have been cool to see if we like lessened our borders on that, or like our regulations on that. Yeah. I mean, you could.
There might be other rules to it too, though, right? Where it's like they wouldn't, because I think government, you would have to, like, you don't have social insurance number. So
exactly. Yeah.
It's like there would be
tax.
Yeah. Also, it's like, but like if the government rules are like, you know, you're hiring only Canadian citizens, how can you just?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like global hurdles around that, but I could see in the future if we lessen our global restrictions through the internet. You can do it now. There's sites like Fiverr. Like if people are like listening, they're like, but there's other. But the thing is, you're not an employee. You're just a contractor.
You're a contractor.
You can still contract out to other people.
Yeah, you can do that way.
But like, it'd be interesting to see how employment works, different parts of the world. Or maybe it'll never work that way. You just can never.
But we'll see. Yeah, because I wonder if there will be like certain rules that the government sets that they can't.
Yeah, because
you
like,
then you're not hiring people from your own area, right? So it's going to affect.
Local
economy.
Oh, that's true too. I didn't even think about that.
So, like, it can't be
so
like.
What's the wage?
Yeah.
Okay, true. Yeah, I guess. All right, take that back. Yeah, that's too difficult of a.
No, I'm not saying it can't be done. I just don't think that it can be in a mass scale necessarily, right?
Or they just have to stick to like freelance work, contract work.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
All right, yeah, that would have been cool. That was a cool tangent, but yeah, actually, I'd take that back. Okay, so the last thing is the spooky radio waves, space.
Oh yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah, there's something exploded or like in a faraway galaxy that we're getting to see now.
Yeah, it would turn on for a minute and then turn off. Usually they're like blips, but now we're seeing it for like 60 seconds, which they've never seen before.
Okay, so either something happened there that reaching us now, I guess. So we don't know what that is.
We don't know, but from a marketing perspective, I love how they said it was spooky, freaked everyone out. They're like, is this aliens trying to contact us? That was my first thought. I was like, because they're like radio waves that are open for 1 minute increments. So I was like, is someone trying to communicate? That was my first thought.
Right. Oh, that's what you thought.
That's what I thought. Because I was like, because the way they were positioning it from the feed that I saw, right? Spooky and like radio waves. So I was like, okay, radio waves are. Is
it in the title they use the word spooky?
Yeah.
So that's why, it's
I know, yeah. I mean, like we follow different things.
Yeah, because I didn't see.
Positioning.
I don't think I saw the word spooky. I just saw like something happening in space, like radio waves,
right?
Signals,
signals,
not like spooky.
That's why it's so funny. It's like you can take information. And it's about how you present the information.
Yeah,
right? It's like, oh, this thing happened. For you, your resource was like, oh, this happened. For me, it was like, this spooky radio waves. And I was like, oh, dude.
Right. And then
aliens? Come on, aliens. You know?
This is the way the internet algorithms work.
Yeah, right? Or you know who does that best? Guess.
Oh, Facebook?
I wish. No. Netflix.
Oh, Netflix. You mean algorithm?
Yeah, they changed the cover art according to what you've watched.
Oh, yeah. Like what you would like of the movie, so they have
exactly.
Which is kind of interesting, really interesting.
It's very interesting, right? But you and I share the same like login, so
it changes.
It changes, yeah.
It's not really.
But it'd be really interesting to see like one person's perspective, like, you're only getting this, like, because I like action, so it's like they're only showing me the gun shooting scenes. I'm like, I'll watch this. Yeah.
That's why I like the other ones where it's like, oh, you watch this, so we recommend. Like they have the specific column of recommending
They have the
for
team
that.
Netflix. Netflix has that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
like I look at that.
That one, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's just cool, like the tailor-made custom art,
Yeah.
according to like your preference.
Yeah.
You know, like or like I'll see something it's like has a gun in the picture, but then my sister will look at it and there's no gun in the picture, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know there was a shooting scene in this movie, and I'm like more interested, you know.
Yeah. Talking about like Netflix, didn't they say like because I think we talked about it earlier with the attention?
Yeah, attention economy.
That's
what
I think.
they're doing.
Yeah, so like Netflix, real competition. I think at the time what they were saying was like Fortnite, because it's like who's taking more attention away?
Interesting.
It's Fortnite.
Yeah, but
or at the time when they were talking, right? So it's like because that was a huge portion of people playing that game.
But the only thing I counter with that is like who's the target. So it's like, all right, sure, a lot of
but I think they're just saying in the generalization that like I think for games in sense like you're spending more time playing. So like that's why they're doing gaming now,
yeah.
Right?
True. Or maybe they're just trying to tap into a new market, you know?
Yeah, no, I think they feel like that's where the attention is. The more people are gaming today than they were before.
Oh, and if you can, like how I'm jumping back into Uncharted, if you can make movie games, oh, that'd be so sick. I don't mean like how before it was like there'd be Spider-Man and they'd release like the game of the movie.
Right.
Like
no.
Cinematic games. So
games
sick.
that are cinematic. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else? Oh, speaking of Uncharted's coming out soon, February 18th.
It's February 18th?
Yeah, bro.
That's super soon.
Yeah, super soon. Or February 8th? No, I think 18th. I think you buy your tickets like now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Hopefully it's not trash, but I love Uncharted, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Fish?
No, I think that's it.
All right, cool.
For the week, yeah.
Until next time. Take it easy, Fish.
Peace.
Bye. All right, hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Fish.
Peace.